Live from Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The top stories tonight. Court nullifies November 2025 National Convention of Faction of People's Democratic Party held in Ibadan. Appeal Court upholds death sentence for 5 convicts involved in 2018 Offa bank robbery. Venezuela signs into law reform bill to pave way for increased privatization, fulfilling one of U.S. key demands.
In business, Senate sets March 17 for final consideration and passage of 2026 budget.
And in sports, the world gears up for the first Grand Slam of the year as Novak Djokovic stuns Jannik Sinner in the semi-final and familiar foes to face off for the women's singles crown. Details later.
Thank you for choosing to join us on the news tonight. A federal high court in Ibadan has nullified the People's Democratic Party's national convention held on November the 15th, 2025. The court barred members of the Tamimu Turaki-led National Working Committee from presenting themselves as national officers of the PDP. It also recognized the caretaker committee led by Mohammed Abdurrahman and Senator Samuel Anyangu as the only legitimate NWC of the party pending a valid national convention. The ruling marks the latest development in the ongoing crisis rocking the party.
The court speaks. Everybody must listen and obey the directions and orders of the court. The claimants came to court seeking a stamp of judicial approval to the illegal convention they held on the 16th of November 2025 here in Ibadan. And the court came out strongly to say that that convention was null and void because it was conducted in flagrant disobedience of 2 judgments of this same federal high court. And to come back to taunt the same court by asking the court to approve what you did was just an exercise in futility. So that convention is gone. In addition, the court nullified all the decisions that were taken at that convention. So the so-called, contraption or executive committee that was purportedly elected and headed by a national working committee that was purportedly elected at that convention has been set aside completely by the court. And in addition, the court held that PDP can only operate as of today through the caretaker committee. And it was inevitable and inescapable that a caretaker committee should take over the affairs of the party pending when a proper convention will be held.
Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party has dismissed the Federal High Court judgment nullifying its November 2025 National Convention, insisting its current leadership remains in place. In a statement issued by the party's fractional National Publicity Secretary, Comrade Ini Ememobong, it said the court declined to grant the order of mandamus sought before it because doing so would amount to sitting on appeal over decisions of courts of coordinate jurisdiction. The party disclosed that it has instructed its legal team to immediately file an appeal and pursue all available legal options to protect its position. The party, however, assured its members nationwide to remain calm and committed and that there is no cause for alarm. We will be back for this discussion with Libras Oshoma and Emmanuel Ogidi, but let's move on for now to other developments. Senior advocate of Nigeria and human rights lawyer Femi Falana has accused the Nigerian military of misleading the public on its handling of the alleged coup in Nigeria. Falana was reacting to the military's admission that certain officers would be tried before a judicial panel over an alleged attempt to overthrow the government. The federal government announced in October 2025 that the Independence Day parade scheduled for October 1 to mark Nigeria's 65th anniversary had been cancelled. Days later, reports emerged linking the cancellation to an alleged coup attempt. The defense headquarters dismissed the reports, insisting that the cancellation was unrelated to any coup. Meanwhile, last week Monday, the DHQ finally confirmed that there was an alleged plan to overthrow President Bola Tinubu. We have joining us for this conversation tonight, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana. He will speak to us on why he feels the military owes Nigerians an apology over the attempted coup in the country. Thank you very much for obliging us. There is a history here. What's an apology without concrete steps by the military to ensure this damaging cycle of denial and quiet admission finally ends? Do we have him?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the announcement by the military authorities, or rather the confirmation of the coup report, came to Nigerians as a surprise. Whereas the media had reported the attempted coup last October, the military authorities denied same. Have now come out to admit that there was indeed an attempt to overthrow the government. It is my view that the military authorities owe the nation an apology for initially denying the coup report.
Unfortunately, the network seems to be interrupting this conversation, but let's try again. Sir, if you can hear me, do please continue your thoughts.
Yes, I am saying that since the military authority denied the coup attempt in October last year, the nation, they ought to have been an apology. Now that investigation has confirmed the media report of an attempted coup in October last year. It's not normal. Having denied 3 months ago, to suddenly announce to the nation that indeed there was a coup attempt.
I'm saying we have a history here. This is not the first time that we're getting information that turns out to be true. The original denial turns out to be false. I'm asking, knowing our history, what is the impact of an apology at this time without commiserate action to correct those behaviors?
I want to show that Nigerians are being treated with decency and that the government must admit when it makes an error. And it's a sign of good governance that we deceive, or rather, we made a mistake of thinking there was no coup. We thought it was a case of indiscipline. But having investigated the allegations, we have now confirmed that indeed there was an attempt to unseat the government. The military authorities will not lose anything. On the contrary, they will teach you some lessons. The government can falter or make an error, and when it's pointed out, the government must learn to apologize
Okay. This is
That
alleged.
is the only way to treat us as civilized people.
All right. This is alleged treason. What's your position? Because I heard you, I read that you have a concern about them being tried before a judicial panel over the attempt to overthrow the government. What should be the appropriate protocol?
Position is that under a democratic dispensation, as we currently have, a coup attempt is treasonable felony. It cannot be tried before a court martial. It has to be tried before the Federal High Court, in line with the provisions of Section 252 of the Constitution. We're no longer under a military dictatorship, whereby coup attempts and actual coup d'etats were tried before military tribunals.
Okay.
So just like we witnessed in the Second Republic, when we had the case of Mandara and the Federal Republic of Nigeria, this case has to go to the Federal High Court.
Okay. There seemed to be a silence from the federal government after this denial, this acknowledgement by the military. From your legal position, what should be the response from the government to this confirmation that there was indeed a coup attempt? And do you think the government should also put pressure on the military to apologize for not telling the truth from the get-go?
Well, again, as I said, the military authorities, just like the government, are not above mistakes. At the time the coup attempt was reported, the military authorities and the government denied flatly and asked Nigerians to disbelieve the media report. But upon a thorough investigation, we have now been informed that indeed there was an attempt to overthrow the government in a very bloody manner. Having come to that conclusion, both the federal government and the military authorities ought to tender or reserve apology to Nigerians. But beyond that, the military authorities also said the report has been sent to the president as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Again, as far as the Constitution is concerned, the report has to be sent to the office of the Attorney General for institution, immediate institution of prosecution.
All right.
The Attorney General will have to file the charges before the Federal High Court, and that is why the report has to go to the office of the Attorney General. The president of the country, as commander-in-chief of the armed forces, is not empowered to examine reports of coups, coup attempt or attempted coups.
All right.
No, that's not the function of the president. That function is exclusively reserved for the Attorney General of the country.
Okay, I'm going to merge two questions and ask because of time. The first one is denial truly a legitimate security strategy, or has the military turned truth itself into a credibility gamble in a fragile democracy as ours? And then the second one is, at what point does a constantly changing official story about national security threats become more dangerous than the threat itself, especially in a country already battling insecurity?
When the government wants to defend the political stability in the country, the government doesn't want to scare investors. The government wants to show that democracy has come to stay in Nigeria. Hence, the dismissal of the reports concerning the attempted coup. But haven't come to the conclusion, based on investigation, that indeed there was an attempt to remove the government. The government must address the question of credibility gap with respect to the coup story. Haven't done that. Instead of engaging in media trial, the media must also be warned to stop reporting the details of the investigation, because those who have been accused are entitled to the presumption of innocence. So you cannot find them guilty in the media before they are even arraigned before the court. So the media must stop snippets from the investigators. It is not right. It is not in line with the Constitution. It is prejudicial to fair hearing of those who have been accused. So they must be allowed to have a field day that day in court. They must be given access to their lawyers. They must be given the opportunity to prepare their defense to the charges. And those who are not involved, who are not indicted, should be released without any further delay. About 42 people were arrested. 16 are said to have been indicted. Those who are not indicted ought to have been granted unconditional release of freedom by now. And that is the only way to show Nigerians that the government means business. Whether under a civilian government or under an illegal regime like a military dictatorship, the question of a coup or an attempted coup is addressed squarely.
Okay.
And more so that we are in a region where coup plotting has endangered the democratic process. Apart from Cape and Senegal that have not recorded a coup, only a couple of countries can be said to enjoy, 3 countries that can be said to enjoy political stability in the region. And so the government must move very, very speedily to put this matter behind it by arraigning those who have been indicted before the Federal High Court.
All right, that's a good place to pause for now. Femi Falana, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, thank you for obliging us tonight.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Coming up, Ebonyi traders back Governor Soludo reject protest over market closure. That's when we return. Indigents of Ebonyi State doing business in Anambra have rejected any planned protest over the temporary closure of Onitsha main market, pledging support for the state governor's directive. The Ebonyi Town Union in Anambra State announced the position in an official statement issued in Onitsha by its President General, Moses Igwe. The group cautioned its members against actions that could disrupt public order or expose traders to safety and economic risk, noting that stability remains critical for business continuity. Now, let's go back to the conversation around the court ruling on PDP convention. This is the latest in the long line of legal actions. I'm joined now by the party's caretaker chairman in the South, Emmanuel Ogidi. With him is a legal practitioner, Libros Oshoma. Thank you, gentlemen, for obliging us. I had a different question scripted. Instead, I want to start with you, Libros, please. Ini Ememobong, the factional national publicity secretary, said the court declined to grant the order of mandamus sought before it because doing so would amount to sitting on appeal over decisions of courts of coordinate jurisdiction, and that they are going to appeal. I don't know if you could just explain that a little for us. Let's start from there.
If what I listened to him and also listened to I think the lawyer that spoke in your news, Elena Sick, if the order of mandamus that you sought for was that the court couldn't grant it because the court would not sit on appeal over a decision of court of coordinate jurisdiction, then why are you going on appeal? Because if a court cannot sit on appeal over a decision, it means that decision given was not against you. So, but from what we gathered and from what I have read, and even from this statement, it is obvious, the fact that they are appealing, it is obvious that the decision of the court is not favorable to them. And it was very clear that the court had said, after violating other court orders, you can now come and ask me to rubber stamp, you know, what you have done. Remember, there were 3 court decisions. The one of Justice Lifu, Justice Omotosho, that had said that congresses were not conducted in the southeast, in some southeastern states. And so to that extent, until those congresses are conducted, PDP should not go ahead. But another court in Oyo State, the State High Court, went ahead to give them the nod. Adamagu and Co should go ahead to conduct the Congress. And if truly the PDP were sure of what they did in Ibadan, certainly there was no need going back to court to ask the court for an order of mandamus to recognize what you did, because you did that, you know, in conjunction, you know, with a court order. A court order actually, you know, gave you the nod to do that. But because, you know, these politicians, they know what they do. They know that, you know, they are standing on a shaky ground, and so they just decided, which became the albatross, though, to go back to the same court. Initially was Oyo State High Court, now a Federal High Court, for an order of mandamus to recognize them, to compel INEC to recognize them.
That was actually my original question, too. Is this not self-sabotage, you know, legally?
It is self-sabotage. It is self-sabotage. It is self-sabotage, because if they had not gone back to that same court, probably would have been waiting for the final decision in Omotosho and Justice Lifu's case. But they went back to the Federal High Court in the same Ibadan, asking for an order of mandamus to be recognized. And the court said, well, I am aware that there are other orders of my learned brothers that you have violated. After violating those orders, you want me to go ahead and give you a rubber stamp recognition. And the court now even went ahead to say, well, everything you had done in Ibadan is a nullity. And so until a caretaker committee is instituted, certainly you cannot be, your elected officials in Ibadan cannot be recognized. For me, I think that's sabotage. It should be a lesson for politicians in Nigeria, certainly.
Emmanuel, let me come to you, because I am unsure if you belong to any faction. I'm going to ask, what is this court judgment to you? Does it settle who the lawful PDP leadership is for now, or does it simply punish disobedience without resolving the leadership question?
We're already in a big court, so whatever anybody is doing, they're just doing it. I'm not a lawyer, but I've been told so. Well, there's an appeal. What the judge did today, well, the judge have also kept quiet and waited for the appeal court. Should have not concluded. It's like what Justice Abdulaziz did in Abuja. We wanted to withdraw our case. She said she dismissed it. We were just looking at them. All kinds of things are being in the court today. But until they allow the parties to run on their own, we keep having it about it. We had the same problem because I'm also part of it. When the APC brought Sharif to our party, we ran through the courts from the High Court to the Appeal Court, the Port Court, and finally the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court gave us judgment. This is the same route again. But this time, it is one of our own who took the assignment to try to destroy us. That's Wike. Wike was one of our finalists. Then he just went wrong. And look at what we have finally. But I still believe that the Appeal Court will give us justice. And we're going to run and deliver on our mandates.
I think it's fair to also put the same question to you that Libros brought up towards the end. And you did a national convention. You also went back to the court. Do you have maybe the mindset of why that reasoning was pursued?
Why we were, you see, the INEC is no longer independent. Because the INEC we thought was independent was involved in all the processes of convention. They were involved in the 101 NEC meeting, 102 NEC meeting. All the decisions were taken. They were all part of it. And the letter was written to INEC. INEC received it. We have the CDC. So for INEC to last minute say they were not part of it, it was strange. So that was why we wanted INEC should be made to do it because they were part of it. Convention is a process. Convention is not on that November 15th and 16th. No. It started from world congresses, to local government congress, to state congress, to zonal congress, and then the convention. With 7 NEC meetings in between.
All right, let me come back. All right, let me come back to you, Libros. On they've already said they're going to appeal this matter, and probably you've had this question a zillion times. Will the status quo remain pending further court action, or this ruling stays until another court action maybe reverses it or reinstates it, reaffirms it?
Let me quickly say here that there is no basis for analogy between the case of Modu Sharif and McAfee and what is currently happening here. The case of Modu Sharif and McAfee was on party leadership. What they are discussing here now is the party congresses and convention. And if you have 3 court orders that had said don't go ahead, and then eventually you had one who said go ahead, certainly the court is not going to clap for you at the end of the day and say go ahead until you clear all of the decisions of the lower court to be in your favor. And when they also know that they had appealed those decisions of the lower court, and now insisting that INEC must recognize them, and then at the last minute wanting to withdraw the suit, for me was, a self-sabotage that went wrong. And also, this decision of the court today stays until set aside by a superior court. So as it stands, if PDP is not careful the way they are going, if PDP is not careful the way they are going, they might not recover before 2027. And I pray the court is able to give them judgment before the Supreme Court finally is able to give them judgment so that they can put their house in order, so that we can have a formidable alternative. But as they are going with all of these multifaceted suits, I doubt if they will be able to put their house in order before then.
Emmanuel, what's your response to that? With the party now split between a court-recognized caretaker committee and a convention-elected national working committee, what is the way forward for your party so you don't miss out?
We're not going to miss out. We're focusing on the appeal. But now with the minister, they forgot about the appeal. We believe that we're going to get the appeal. We believe so.
All right.
The courts are not just bad like that. So we believe that.
All right, Emmanuel Ogidi, thank you very much for speaking with us. Liberato Shoma, always a pleasure to have you on the news. Thank you. Still ahead, in a tit-for-tat move, South Africa and Israel expel each other's envoys over alleged abuse of diplomatic privilege. We will bring you this story and much more when we return. Vice President Kashim Shettima arrived in Kaduna today, Friday, to commission the Tundumbiri housing scheme. The flagship program would provide permanent homes for those impacted by the tragic 2023 drone incident. The initiative, they say, is a key part of the resettlement scheme for persons impacted by conflict. It fulfills President Tinubu's 2024 promise to restore dignity to displaced community members. By prioritizing rehabilitation and reintegration, the government aims to heal the trauma in Tundumbiri. The new housing signifies a commitment to permanent recovery for the affected victims. Nestle Nigeria paid the courtesy visits to News Central to explore possible areas of partnership and collaboration. The visit focused on understanding News Central's editorial vision and its commitment to fearless reporting. Bernard Akede reports.
As News Central moves to further cement its place as one of Africa's most trusted news stations, partnering with companies and organizations that share similar goals and visions has become paramount. And one of such companies is Nestle Nigeria. And as part of ongoing conversations on potential partnerships and brand collaboration, a team from Nestle Nigeria visited News Central Television and took a tour of the station, giving the Nestle team insight into News Central's newsroom, operations and production.
A basic concept that, or a strategy that Nestle has always implemented is what we call the creating share value. And we fundamentally believe that we can create value that is shared among the business, among our employees, among the communities we operate.
Representatives from News Central's diverse team were also present, outlining the network's mission. They also emphasized depth in investigative journalism and pursuit of credible reporting.
We are all about impacting our society. And that's why another thing that differentiates us is our town hall meetings. I was telling Victoria about our town hall meetings. In our town hall meetings, we go to locations where there are issues. Plateau State, where there was a massacre in Plateau State. And we go in the middle of everything that is happening and see how we can bring stakeholders together to discuss. We bring the community, we bring the Nigerian police, the military, whichever security agency is concerned, we bring them together and see how we can provide solutions.
The Nestle team raised questions about how News Central maintains its vision on fearless reporting, as well as how the station recruits reporters who uphold that vision.
So one of the ways we do it is to get young people that are really passionate and energetic and ready to do the work fresh. Because when you get them fresh, you can mold them the way you want to mold them. When you're poaching people from other organizations, it's always a struggle because it's a change in culture.
News Central's audience reach, viewer coverage, digital presence, and specific demographics were also part of the topics discussed by both teams.
We are very focused on the Africa First narrative because we were founded on the premises of our stories not being told, not just by us, but not being told subliminally. We tell the story of Europe, we tell stories all over the world, but we need to be able to fit in the shoes of the average African and say, here's how this story needs to be told. So our demographic cuts across that narrative.
The meeting was open and highly interactive, with both sides expressing interests in exploring future collaborations that align with their values and long-term goals. In Lagos for News Central, Bernard Akede.
President Bola Tinubu and former President Goodluck Jonathan were among the dignitaries who attended the funeral rites of the late Bayelsa State Deputy Governor, Senator Lawrence Erujakpo. A requiem mass was conducted at St. Paul's Catholic Church, Onitsha local government area of Bayelsa State, in tribute to the 60-year-old late Deputy Governor. President Tinubu, who was represented by the Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Senator Heineken Lokobiri, joined others to eulogize the late Erujakpo.
We can confidently say Brother Erujakpo lived a fulfilled and worthy life. One who finds acceptance to God, commitment to humanity, and devotion to the effort of Bayelsa State and Nigeria. He will be remembered for his intellect, his wisdom, his thoughtful use of proverbs, and his rare ability to combine depth with words.
Everybody speaks good of Lawrence. It's very difficult for a politician who managed to get to the level of a deputy governor of a state to have that kind of image. Lawrence was a good man. Related well with people.
May the soul of His Excellency Senator Lawrence Erujakpo find repose and abiding love of God. May his memory be forever a blessing to us.
Away from our shores, in a tit-for-tat move, both South Africa and Israel have expelled each other's envoys, while South Africa expelled Israel's top diplomat in the country for violating diplomatic norms. Israel took the same part in retaliation. The diplomatic row started when South Africa's Foreign Affairs Ministry declared Ariel Seidman, chargé d'affaires at the Israeli embassy, persona non grata, and gave him 72 hours to leave the country. Hours later, Israel announced similar action against South Africa's ambassador to Palestine, Sean Edward. Relations between South Africa and Israel have been frosty since South Africa accused Israel of genocide against Palestinians at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, a charge Israel has rejected. And Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, has signed into law a reform bill that will pave the way for increased privatization in the country's nationalized oil sector, fulfilling a key demand from the United States. Rodriguez had on Thursday held a signing ceremony with a group of state oil workers. She hailed the reform as a positive step for Venezuela's economy. The ceremony came within hours of the National Assembly, dominated by members of Rodriguez's United Socialist Party, passing the reform. Since the U.S. military's abduction of Venezuela's former leader, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife on January the 3rd, the Trump administration has sought to pressure President Rodriguez to open the country's oil sector to outside investment. We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we have business, sports, and entertainment news. We'll tell you how Afrobeat icon Fela Anikulapo Kuti becomes first African posthumous Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award recipients. That's all after this break.
I open my eye, I see for my land around show. Everywhere you go, everywhere you day, everybody want to power show. Around show. Everywhere you go, everywhere you day, everybody want to power show.
Talking business now, the Senate Committee on Appropriations has unveiled a comprehensive timetable for the consideration and passage of the 2026 appropriation bill. The committee also announced March 17 as the target date to conclude the legislative process and ensure the timely implementation of the national budget. The rollout includes a rigorous schedule of public hearings and budget defense sessions with various ministries, departments, and agencies slated to commence on February 2 and run through mid-February.
On the 17th, and on the 19th they will now go. So that's it. So, sir, let's put it that on the what's Thursday next week? 5th of. Thursday next week is the 5th. So that is 5th on Thursday is for the economic team, while Monday is what? Monday the 9th is for our interactive session. So that the timetable for budget preparation and consideration for 2026 appropriation bill as laid out and amended and seconded by Senator Uzokalu, say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
And away from that to the stock market, well, it slipped marginally as the all-share index eased 0.09 to close at 165,370.40 points, reflecting a cautious session marked by mixed sectoral performance. Market capitalization settled at about 10.6 trillion naira as gains in some sectors were offset by weakness in others. Now, we look at the sectoral performance, starting with the banking industry, where we see that it declined by 0.78%, weighed down by sell pressure in major lenders as investors trimmed positions. Insurance stood out, rising 1.7%, driven by renewed demand in stocks like ICO and Cornerstone Insurance. Oil and gas edged up 0.02% with a quiet trading in Saplat, keeping the sector largely stable. Consumer goods gained 0.1%, and for the third consecutive day, industrial goods closed flat as limited activity in the sector continues. That's it on business. I am Lekon Obanjo.
Hello and welcome to sports. All is set for the men and women singles final of the Australian Open. Earlier today, Novak Djokovic stunned reigning champion Jannik Sinner to set up a blockbuster encounter with Carlos Alcaraz on Sunday after the Spaniard survived a 5-test clash of his own with Alexander Zverev. The 38-year-old Serbian great turned back the clock to keep alive his bid for a record 25th Grand Slam crown by upsetting the Italian 3-6, 6-3, 4-6, 6-4, 6-4 in a grueling 4 hours, 9 minutes at the Rod Laver Arena. World number one Alcaraz needed even longer to tame Zverev, spending a titanic 5 hours, 27 minutes on court, overcoming cramping and a fifth set deficit to win 6-4, 7-6, 6-7, 6-7, 7-5. In the women's category, the final between Aryna Sabalenka and Elena Rybakina is set for Saturday morning. And here in Nigeria, just under 20 women's national team, the Falconets will face Senegal at the MQ Abiola Sports Complex in Abeokuta following a late change of venue. The Nigeria Football Federation requested the switch from the Confederation of African Football after raising concerns over the poor condition of the playing surface at the Lekon Salami Stadium in Ibadan. With player safety and match quality in mind, CAF approved Abeokuta as the new host venue for the crucial World Cup qualifier. The first leg will now see the Falconets welcome Senegal to the new venue, with kickoff scheduled for 4 p.m. on Saturday, the 7th of February. This return leg is set for Saturday, the 14th of February in Dakar, Senegal. Meanwhile, two-time heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua has released an emotional video message thanking fans worldwide for their support following a fatal car crash in Nigeria that killed 2 of his closest friends and team members. Joshua sustained minor injuries in the December 29 incident, while strength coach Sina Gami and personal trainer Latif Ayodele died at the scene. In the 6-minute video shared on his social media platforms, Joshua reflected on the deep personal and professional bond he shared with the pair and acknowledged the global support he has received during his recovery. He also pledged continued support for their families, and the tribute comes as Joshua gradually resumes public life, having recently returned to the gym training. The crash remains under investigation in Nigeria, with the driver, Kayode Adeni, charged with multiple offenses. Joshua has yet to confirm his future in boxing, but the message underscored his resolve to honor his late friends while moving forward.
Thank you we heard, we saw the messages, the tweets, the social media, the YouTubes, the prayers. It's all been acknowledged. So yeah, we know what we're gonna do. Mum, Mama Lats, Mama Sina, Papa Lats, Papa Sina, one love. You know, we're out here representing. This message is not only on behalf of me, this is on behalf of their families. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for the love worldwide. Continue, don't let it stop. And for anyone out there that's lost us.
And that's all on Sports News Tonight. Entertainment is up next with Kate.
Exciting news in the world of entertainment for tonight, as legendary Nigerian Afrobeat pioneer Fela Anikulapo Kuti has made history by becoming the first African artist ever to receive the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Celebrated for creating Afrobeat, Fela fused West African rhythms with jazz, funk, and politically charged lyrics, releasing more than 50 albums and influencing generations of musicians worldwide. Beyond music, Fela was a fierce critic of social injustice and corruption, often using his art to challenge government and military rule in Nigeria, including his famous response to the 1977 assault on his commune after the release of his song, Zombie. The Recording Academy announced that Fela will be honored posthumously nearly 3 decades after his death in 1997, a milestone moment for African music on the global stage. Now, Fela's Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award honors his artistic brilliance and enduring legacy, marking a powerful moment for African culture on the world's biggest music stage. Now moving on, Colombian superstar Shakira has set a new Guinness World Record for the highest grossing tour by a Hispanic artist of all time, with her Women No Longer Cry World Tour. The milestone was confirmed after the tour grossed more than $410 million, surpassing the previous record held by Mexican singer Luis Miguel. Shakira's record came into focus after a December 11 concert in Buenos Aires pushed revenues past the milestone mark. Reflecting on the achievement, Shakira said the record was a new milestone after a 30-year career of hard work and challenges, praising her fans for their loyalty and their support, which she said makes moments like this possible. The record cements Shakira's place in music history and highlights her ongoing impact as a global touring artist. And that's it on Entertainment News for tonight. I am Kate Adeogun.
And before we go, a quick recap of our top stories. A court has nullified November 2025 National Convention of Faction of People's Democratic Party held in Ibadan. Appeal Court has upheld death sentence for 5 convicts involved in 2018 Offa bank robbery. Venezuela has signed into law reform bill to pave way for increased privatization, fulfilling one of U.S. key demands. Please send your eyewitness report to the number showing now on your screen. You can do that as well by following us on all social media platforms at News Central TV. We're live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Abo TV, and on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. We leave you with this sound from the Grammy-winning Afrobeat icon, Fela Anikulapo Kuti. Good night.
I open my eye, I see for my land around show. Everywhere you go, everywhere you day, everybody want to power show. Around show. Everywhere you go, everywhere you day, everybody want to power show. Around show.